All right, let's get right into it. We are cracking open one of the most influential and honestly most controversial books of the 20th century, Sigmund Freud's The Interpretation of Dreams. Get this, it sold less than 400 copies in its first 6 years, but the ideas inside, wow, they sparked a revolution in how we think about our own minds that's still going strong today.
You know that feeling, right? Your eyes fly open, maybe your heart is pounding a little, and you're just lying there thinking, what in the world was that?
It's like your brain just decided to throw a bunch of random memories, weird fears, and maybe a scene from that movie you watched last week into a blender and hit puree. It just feels like total nonsense. A chaotic mess that makes zero sense when you're awake.
And so many of us have the same kinds of baffling dreams. I mean, these are the greatest hits, right? The classic anxiety dream where you're suddenly naked in public, or you're failing a test from a class you took decades ago. Or that heartbreaking one where a loved one dies, or the feeling of flying, or even worse, falling. These are the exact puzzles that Freud was obsessed with solving.
So, this is where our detective, Sigmund Freud, steps onto the scene. He's not looking at this chaos as a stuffy academic. Nope. He's looking at it like a crime scene, and he comes forward with this absolutely radical theory. None of this is random, not a single bit.
And just listen to his own words here to get a sense of the stakes. For Freud, dreams weren't just some weird, glitchy side effect of being asleep. He was convinced they were the key, the master clue to unlocking the entire human mind, from our little everyday phobias to our deepest obsessions.
And here it is, this is the bombshell. His claim was that every single dream, no matter how bizarre or terrifying it seems, is at its core the fulfillment of a wish. Yeah, even the one where you're failing that exam. The big mystery, of course, is how?
Okay, so to understand this, Freud said you have to see a dream in two parts. The first part is what he called the manifest content. Think of this as the actual movie you watch in your sleep. It's the crazy plot, the strange characters, the whole jumbled story you remember when you wake up. It's the part that feels so random. But underneath that surface layer, that's where you find the second part, the latent dream thoughts. Now, this is the hidden script. It's the real meaning, the director's cut, made up of all the unconscious wishes and impulses that are way too intense or forbidden for our conscious minds to handle. So think of it like this. You've got the bizarre, nonsensical movie playing on the screen, but it's all based on a deeply meaningful hidden script. For Freud, the whole point of the dream is to be a code. The weird story you remember is just an encrypted message designed to smuggle a hidden wish past your defenses.
Okay, but that leads to a really obvious question, right? If dreams are just wishes, that brings us to the next piece of this puzzle.
Exactly. Why all the drama? Why not just dream that you get the job you wanted, or that you're on a beautiful beach somewhere? Why does the mind go through all the trouble of creating these elaborate, confusing disguises? Well, Freud's answer was this brilliant concept of an internal censor. Picture a bouncer at the nightclub of your mind. Its one and only job is to protect your sleep. So when a raw, disturbing, or socially unacceptable wish tries to get in from your unconscious, the censor stops it, scrambles it, and disguises it so it can slip past without setting off the alarms and waking you up. And this censor has a couple of go-to tricks it uses to create these disguises. Freud called this whole process the dream work. The two main tools in its toolbox are condensation, which is all about mashing multiple ideas into one, and displacement, which is about misdirection, shifting the emotional spotlight. So, condensation is a perfect example. Your mind takes all the complicated feelings you have about your boss, your dad, and your child at home and just mashes them all together into one single weird composite image. That's why people in dreams can feel so familiar and yet so off. It's an incredibly efficient way to pack in a ton of meaning. And then you have displacement, which is all about substitution. The censor knows that if you dreamt directly about your fear of, say, getting fired, the sheer panic would wake you up. So instead, it cleverly moves that intense anxiety onto something totally trivial, like losing a pen. The panic you feel in the dream is real, but its true source is perfectly hidden. So we have a secret message. We have a sophisticated system for encrypting it. Which brings us to the final part of our investigation. How in the world did Freud think we could actually crack this code? First things first, go ahead and throw out any of those dream dictionaries you might have. Freud was absolutely insistent on this. A snake in your dream doesn't mean the same thing for you as it does for me.
The symbols are pulled from your life, your memories, and that means only one person has the key to decipher the code: the dreamer, you.
His master technique for this was called free association, and the idea is pretty straightforward. You take one single piece of the dream, any piece, and you just let your mind go. You say whatever pops into your head without judging or censoring anything. The theory is that by following this chain of what seems like random thoughts, you can actually sneak past the censor and follow the breadcrumbs all the way back to the original thought.
Freud even used this quote from the poet Friedrich Schiller to explain the right mindset. It's all about telling that inner critic, that censor, to take a break. You have to relax, reason's watch upon the gates, and just let the ideas pour in, no matter how strange they seem. That's where the hidden connections start to appear.
And so if you do all this, if you follow the clues, trust the associations, and actually crack the dream's code, what do you find? Well, this is the big reveal. This is the whole point of the investigation. What you get isn't just the meaning of one weird dream. No, what you get is a backstage pass. You get access to a vast, hidden, and incredibly powerful part of your own mind that is pulling the strings of your life without you even knowing it. And that hidden world is, of course, the unconscious. This giant reservoir of feelings, primal urges, and forgotten memories that are all tucked away outside of your normal awareness. It's the hidden engine that's secretly influencing your behavior, your choices, your relationships, everything. And dreams are our best look under the hood. And that leads us to maybe the most famous line from the entire book, the one that sums up the whole incredible claim. Freud declared that dreams are the royal road to a knowledge of the unconscious. He wasn't saying dream interpretation was just a fun hobby. He was saying it was the most direct, privileged path to understanding the deepest, most hidden parts of ourselves. So after all of this, the real question isn't whether your dreams are just random noise. The question Freud leaves us with is, what secret wishes are your dreams trying to fulfill night after night? What are they trying to tell you?